Okay, so hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first LOAC meeting. I know it was a little bit short notice with the scheduling and everything, and the time is also very early at 8. And some of you later on told me that they have to like drop off kids at school and stuff like this, so it's not the most convenient. But this is the only LOAC meeting at 8, and I'm happy to see all of you. So I was thinking we're gonna start this meeting with like quick introduction check-in, just to say hi and welcome to the semester. And then the first meeting is very informal. I just go over a few quick reminders of things that you're supposed to do as a liaison, which if you're a seasoned liaison, you already know this. If you're new, then it's a good reminder. And then I wanted to leave the last 20, 30 minutes for open questions, discussions, or anything I can show you. I also wanted to note that I set my office hours 8 to 9 on Tuesday, Wednesday. But really, you should just look at my calendar and then just drop me an email and say, hey, you're available Wednesday at 2. Can we just meet there on Zoom? And I already like that a couple of liaisons have done this week and last week, just to like kind of schedule a meeting, because it's easiest at the moment for me to just sit with you in Zoom and get things done. We can always do things on email. That's totally fine. But if you need like a lot of assistance, just schedule me on Zoom. Also, you can hear my voice is gone. So since Bill is not here, I woke up this week and I was like, damn it, 1 week and I already have COVID. I didn't have COVID, I tested, but I was severely sick this whole week. And actually on Wednesday, I overslept and I didn't go to my office hours. And Brian was there and he sent me an email, hey, where are you? And I'm like, damn. So this week is really not my week, but I'm hoping that I have more energy and my voice will be better next week. And if you can't hear anything that I say during this talk, just let me know, because my voice just wants to rest. So I thought we'd do some introduction first. We all kind of know each other, but I just put the list of the liaisons there. We only have a few, so why don't you just real quick introduce yourself and maybe say a thing or two, especially if you're a newer liaison, you can kind of reflect back on last semester and say a sentence or two on last semester as a liaison if you want. That'd be nice to hear, at least for me. So actually, I don't have the list of participants, but I think April is the first one on the list, right? If I go alphabetical. April, could you start?
Yeah, sure. Can everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hi. So, oh my goodness. I'm April Brenner. Let's see. My check-in is so far so good.
Right.
It's spring semester. We're back on the grind. Everything feels great so far. I met with Brianna over the break, Brianna Todd Hunter, and she helped me understand a little bit more with Illumin and mapping. So that was really good. Yeah, so I'm the liaison for behavioral sciences, and I've been here a while. I mean, doing liaison stuff for a while. And I just wanted to say, I put it in the chat, but thank you, Joachim, for creating those SLO office hours, because, you know, SLOs is like, it's like cyclical. Questions come up periodically. You don't always have questions, but it's nice to know that when they do come up, there's somewhere for us to go. So thank you. And I'm happy to see everyone.
Nice. Shannon, can you go next, please?
Sure. My name is Shannon Engelhardt. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Now, my last name is spelled
misspelled.
E-L,
I know. I just saw
not
it.
E-L. So just, yeah, spelling's
I
a little bit different.
I always do this. I don't know. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It's a very common mistake, just to let you know.
But I'm German. I should not misspell it like this. I'm German. That's like the worst misspelling as a German.
It's okay. Okay, so I'm the facilitator for the World Languages Department. I've been in this role now for 2 years. And so now I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable, more familiar with the
Illumin.
Illumin. And I can understand a little bit more, and then I can be able to help explain that then to the other specialists, what they mean. And so now we're doing the ATRs, and I'm looking forward to getting a refresher in downloading the reports, pulling the reports.
Yeah, no problem. We can do this at the end of the session. I'll show you. I think Amira is next on the list.
Hello. My name is Amara Janaki, and I am working in our family department, family studies. I'm covering for Shannon. She's in sabbatical leave, and I'm completely new to this, and of course, new to Southwestern as well. This is my second semester working as an assistant faculty at our department. And I'm very excited to get to know you guys and learn about this LOAC.
Actually, you were in one of the meetings last semester too already. So
Yes, I did, because Shannon was not able to attend, and then tell you the truth, it was very interesting, but I really need to dig deeper.
Yeah, no problem. There's lots to dig. Next on the list, I think, is Brian.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Brian Palmeter. Let's see, a longtime faculty member here in automotive technology. This is my second semester in the liaison role. Still trying to figure out what I'm doing. So I'd say I'm a little bit further than I was before, but still a lot to learn.
Yeah, it never ends. And Jackie, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jackie Simon. I'm the SLO coordinator for COM, which includes FTMA, journalism, RANT, and Illumin and I have sometimes have had an unpleasant relationship. And so it's a frustrating system sometimes. And last semester I had to redo all my data because it was acting up on me. So I have empathy with people trying to understand and work with Illumin. And I got it all worked out, but I've been doing this about 2 years now, and I need to run the reports as well, Yohim, because program review is just around the corner in my area, as it is probably in a lot of other people's areas. But there's still more to learn, and each time I'm doing this, I learn how to be more efficient and get this done better. And it's still a process of it's always different each semester, but I love doing this, and I know it's rewarding and worthwhile. So, and hello to everybody and good morning. And I'm happy to see that our group is growing and there's new faces and other people who've been here for a long time as well. So it's all good.
I would say Jackie is a very social person, because on opening day, she was hanging out with all my STEM peeps, and I was so happy to have Jackie with us, and we had lots of fun conversations. So,
oh, I appreciated that. I like being around I love calm people. Don't get me wrong, but I was happy to be adopted by the STEM people. They were just so interesting and had such interesting things to share. So I thank you as well. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that.
Cool. So just as a general overview, so we're doing a lot of things at Liaisons. The gray box is kind of the procedural stuff to make sure that our campus does SLOs, which we need to do from accreditation point of view, from a contract point of view, but also from a philosophical point of view, because this is data that you can use in curriculum improvement. And actually, I had conversation with Senate Exec, because on opening day, I gave a workshop on curriculum design. using data. And I was shocked how low the knowledge of faculty, even faculty that have been serving here for over 10 years, is on how do you actually use data to improve your courses and improve your curriculum. So that was kind of interesting. But let me tell you this, from my point of view and from my knowledge, it's extremely essential to have this data. So this is a really good thing that we do here. Now, beyond this process, we also do a lot of conversations and document them. We analyze data, discuss data, and we provide reports and recommendations to department faculty. So we're kind of like a really valuable resource in many sense to look at the data, interpret the data, talk about the data. Now, one of the things that we need to do is create an ISLO GSLO report. So I'm going to write one up based on the conversations that we have next LOAC and the LOAC meeting after. But one of our duty is to kind of like look at the institutional and transfer data and then write up a report, discuss this, and then write up a report. So this is coming in the next 2 LOAC meetings. Today, I just wanted to let you know, maybe start with some of the basics, just check in with your department faculty, see if they want to revise or change any SLOs. I think there has been an halt in changing a lot of CSLOs because we are moving to the new system KIM. This is happening now this semester, apparently. But in general, our role as liaisons is we match and illumine what we have in Curricunet, and we can assist faculty if they want to revise or change any CSLOs. And I put Bloom's taxonomy in there because you're supposed to use kind of like Bloom taxonomy verbs and stuff like this. And maybe for you, this is obvious, but then I realized I'm STEM, and before I started this work, I didn't even know who Bloom was. So, you know, it's a good tool for these kind of process. But just check in with your faculty and make sure if they want to revise any SLOs and assessments and assist them if needed. Jackie already talked about this, but program review is due on 2/21, which means there will be a lot of, let me step back. As a liaison, you should just contact department faculty, offer your help, and make sure that the OATs are updated because especially in the programs down below, these programs, their review cycle, their comprehensive is right now, and for them a new cycle starts. And actually what Bill will do is he will look at some of these programs and will say, hey, are the OATs that are on the website, are they within the current program review cycle of 4 years? If you haven't updated the OATs, make sure you update them and send them to Anna Flores. If you don't need to update the OATs because they are within the current program cycle, and that's different for each department because their comprehensive is different, right? Then make sure you update your OATs. So you either have nothing to do or you have to update your OATs, but just make sure that if anyone goes to the web page, their 4-year cycle, you're within your 4-year cycle that's current. Any questions on this? Yeah, please, April.
Okay, so thank you for explaining this. I just actually explained this to my faculty again in our department meeting. I'm curious. So like in our contract, I think the contract language, not the SLO liaison contract, but the SCEA contract, I think it still says once every 3 years. And I just want to make sure we're following program review, which is 4 years.
I will double check, but I think we updated the language that it doesn't give a year anymore, but it says it aligns with a program review cycle in the
okay.
section 19 or whatever it is on the SLOs. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure that got updated. And so it doesn't say 3 years or 4 years, it just says with program review cycle. And since our program review cycle is set to be 4 years at the moment, right? It's 4 years.
Okay. I'm going to pull that up in the SCEA contract real quick, but you're referring to the liaison contract, right?
No, I'm talking to about our faculty
The
contract.
union.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, great. And then my next question is, and I need to pull this up for myself.
Yeah.
I've never worked on the snapshot for my discipline.
Yeah.
Not directly. Are there SLO, like, is there I know in the comprehensive, there's a very specific question that relies on SLO data, but in the snapshot, the other 3 years, right? Is there a question that speaks directly to SLO data?
No, but you're supposed to, so for example, let's say you have a comprehensive, okay? And you want to fix problem A. And in order to fix problem A, you need a resource, right? And why do you know that problem A exists is because you looked at SLO data. And then when you do your snapshot, like let's say a year later, you say, oh, we got this funding, we implemented this and this, we used this resource to help with the problem. Did the numbers change, right? Because when you do your update, you want to say, did it have an effect, your intervention, right? I mean, not every intervention directly has an effect the next year, or in general might not have an effect at all, because just because you think it's logical that this will help, that might not be the reason why. So the idea is when you do the snapshot, you just look at, hey, in these goals, did we make any progress? And in order to kind of assess progress, you should kind of look at SLO data. Is there some sort of improvements, or is there some sort of changes, right? So
Okay, thank you for explaining that, because I think part of the issue, or one of the obstacles I'm running into with faculty, is the distance between like what's required in the contract. Like, some of my faculty would like to do only what's required of the contract. And I need to sort of do a better job, I think, in getting them over to the idea that a best practice would be entering data like every semester, so that we can have data points to refer back to, not only in the comprehensive, but in the snapshots.
Yeah. So I 100% agree with you. And if you look at the contract, you have to use disaggregated SLO data. It's not, let me step back. The contract is a little bit vague. You only have to attempt to use this, you only have to use disaggregated data to attempt to improve courses and programs, right? You don't have to necessarily improve them, you just have to attempt to do this. But you do have to use disaggregated data. That's how the contract is. SLO data, sorry. And that SLO data is also not specified. It's not CSLO, PSLO, ISLO, GSLO, it just says SLO data.
There's also, if I can say something.
Oh my God, I'm so stupid. I forgot to have Brianna introduce herself. Can you introduce yourself real quick? I'm so sorry.
My name is Brianna. I am the researcher helping out this group. I'm the data steward in Illumin. And I've worked with a lot of you to help semester with questions, troubleshooting. What I was going to say for April is accreditation requires SLO data analysis to be included in program review. So I don't know if, I think I've seen Brian at some of our program review trainings. I don't know who else, but we're really encouraging everyone, even if they're doing just their annual, also the comprehensive, to include SLO analysis, because we've got dinged on that many times. Almost every accreditation, they're like, you need to include more SLO analysis. So highly encouraged.
Thank you both for clarifying.
And then April, did you have another question, or was that it? Sorry, I forgot.
That's it.
Comment. Okay, cool. Perfect. So and kind of why I mentioned this is because there has already been a couple emails where people have said, oh, I looked at the website and the oaths are not up to date. So just make sure you, as a liaison, just double check that your oaths are up to date. If they're in the current program review cycle, then you don't, in that 4-year window, then you don't have to worry, right? Last semester, I realized that a lot of SLOs, CSLOs were distributed kind of very late in the semester. So my recommendation for this semester is once that program review date, the 21st, has passed, just spend a couple of days. I mean, I had to substitute for physical science last semester. And I would say it took me like 3 hours to distribute all the CSLOs, and I was done for the semester. But my recommendation is distribute them early, and then let the department chairs know that the CSLOs are distributed. Now, I would wait till after the census date because no section will show up before the census date, before I distribute anything. So if I would be a liaison, I would pick maybe the first time after the 21st when program review is due, and I have like a little bit of a breather of a couple hours, just go through my oaths, distribute all the CSLOs, email the chairs and say, hey, I distributed all the CSLOs. Just make sure to remind the faculty to do them at the end of the semester. And then I'll send another reminder later at the end of the semester. But definitely after the census, if you have a little bit of time after the 21st, try to get it out of the way. And sometimes you're lucky you don't have to distribute anything because that's what the oaths say. So you have a chill semester, and sometimes it's a nightmare because every course needs to be distributed. So it's kind of hectic, but yeah, try to get it done a little bit earlier this semester. And the reason why I mentioned this is because our participation report says that the last year's SLO distribution has been low. And this is not your responsibility as a liaison, but the end effect is that Bill has to talk to the deans, and then the deans have to talk to the faculty, and it's the deans' purview how they handle this in terms of making sure the faculty does the CSLOs. And I sometimes feel like our job is also being nice because we send the chairs a reminder, then they can send the faculty a reminder. That might help, and the earlier you do it, the more time they have to think about this and communicate, the better this is. Questions? Now, program review is coming on 2/21, and usually what happens is that you'll either have a lot of faculty that just really doesn't care about data. They just always written program review and not worried about data and just turn in their stuff. And then you have faculty that says, oh my God, it's due on the 21st, but I haven't worked on it yet. I need a report, I need data, I need it now. And then you give them the data and they're like, but what does this mean? I need help. There's like so many numbers. So as a liaison, if you haven't contacted the program leads yet, then you should definitely contact the program leads. Tell them you're a liaison, you're a support person for your department. You can provide some help if needed. One of the things that Brianna did was create this PSLO data dashboard, which is a phenomenal, powerful, quick, easy tool with beautiful visuals to look at your PSLO data for your programs and also to identify gaps. I highly recommend being familiar how to navigate the PSLO data dashboards. If not, I'll show you. And also use it as a tool to talk with program leads about their data for their programs. Drawback on that PSLO data dashboard is it's only updated once a semester, once a year in summer. So if, for example, your mapping was wrong, or I went into some of the business class and they realized all the courses that feed into the program were the wrong courses. It wasn't updated for 15 years. Stuff like this. So if things are not up to date and you make changes in Illumin, then you have to definitely print some Illumin reports. And there's 4 reports you can print, the over report, and then we need disaggregation. Those are the green reports for race, ethnicity, age, gender. We also have teaching modality and location modality. And we have videos on Canvas how to do this, but I'm also happy to walk you through at the end of this meeting how to do some of the reports. Or if I'm lazy, I'm going to ask Brianna to do this because she's fantastic and much nicer person to talk to. But I'm happy to show you how to do this. And then make sure that you provide the reports. And then really, if program leads want to talk a little bit about this, some program chairs don't know what the 15% rule is. What does it mean to have more than 50% in low proficiency and no proficiency, right? They don't understand what that is. So here as a liaison, you come in, you can help a little bit with the definitions, you can help looking at the data a little bit, and then you can make some recommendations based on your experience as a liaison. And if you feel uncomfortable about talking about interventions or whatever, you can always invite me to some of those meetings and say, hey, why don't you just jump into one of these meetings with us and we can all talk together about this. But those are the kind of things you need to do. Look at data, identify gaps, think about interventions or resources or things to improve your program, and then put it into program review and submit it on the 21st.
Shannon has a question. I can answer it. Location modality is really just like location. So if you have courses that are offered at like our main campus and offered at the centers, those would be different physical locations. Not every discipline offers courses at the centers. So if you don't, location's not really something you need to worry about, just modality where it's like in person, online, remote, or now that's called synchronous live, etc. So that's location and modality.
And then Shannon, just to give you an example why this could be important, in chemistry, every full-time faculty teaches at main campus. We have tons of chemistry courses also in Otay Mesa, but not a single full-time faculty teaches there. So you might ask a question, does this affect the quality of the courses or the instruction that students get at Otay Mesa? So location, because we have these satellite campuses, might be interesting data. And to be honest, sorry, go ahead, Brianna.
We were asked specifically by the accreditation committee to include location analysis in program review. So if you have a discipline and they're offering in-person courses at the centers, they need to start looking at the differences in SLO data, as well as like course success, course completion.
Yeah. And then really, also, since we're talking about accreditation, when accreditation comes, they want to know that we have these discussions on data, right? So they can look at our program review samples, but they also want to know that we're talking about this on campus and we're trying to make attempts to improve. And as a liaison, you kind of need to document or ask faculty to document and collect the documentation and then put it onto Canvas or the Google Doc that I provided on Canvas. Either one is fine, whatever you prefer, but really make sure you document these conversations, these meetings you have, and just at least write a sentence or two what you did in these, right? Did you discuss PSLO data? Did you CSLO data? Did you identify gap? Did you advise odds? Whatever it is you did, just make sure you document these conversations. Very important to us. Then for spring 23, there's really, for the next 2 or 3 meetings, there's just really 2 things that we really need to get done. One is the SLO for ethnic studies. So in each of the next meetings, I'm going to invite the ethnic studies faculty for at least 10 minutes. And I want to hammer out this SLO for ethnic studies ASAP. And EJ has been talking to the departments quite a bit, trying to push them to come up with an SLO. I don't know what the update is on this, but next meeting in March, we'll definitely discuss and try to get this institutional SLO for ethnic studies done. Sorry. And then the other thing is the rest of the time we'll just spend discussing ISLO, GSLO data, and we'll write a report by by May. I want to have like a kind of not a polished, but at least a report written, so that before we go into break, we can take a quick peek at it and see if we feel comfortable with where we are with our analysis and everything that's set in the report. Now, there's a whole bunch of other things coming, and I might potentially ask in some way or shape or form to create some training with liaisons, because the new curriculum management system is coming. And I don't know yet, there's a lot of details that I don't know yet. For example, who's going to provide training to faculty, how to use the system? Who's going to provide specific training for the liaisons? I assume it's most likely going to be me. But then there's also a lot of things like, oh, the PSLO mapping won't be in the new KIM system. Who's going to do this? I don't know if the liaisons will have to do this, or if someone will be compensated. There has to be some discussions with the union too and administration. But there's a lot of things that come that I don't know yet what they are. And I will update you throughout the semester of, hey, I need you to do this, or hey, you need to do the PSLO mapping and you'll get maybe compensated, or I don't know what the situation will be. But I'm just saying these are things on the radar in terms of the new management system. Then programs and program discontinuance. So I need to talk to Randy a little bit, because I want to make sure that there's a really good process between communicating between department faculty and liaisons when there's new programs introduced and when there's program discontinued. We had this initiative that we discontinued every program that didn't have complete a year for 5 years. So in 5 years, if you didn't have 5 completers, or 1 on average per year, then you were discontinued. And I think now that took away like 130 programs, and 80 of them want to be back in for various reasons. And I think later this month, there will be there will be a committee talking about which programs are going to stay, which programs are going to be gone. So there's a possibility that next month we have about 100 programs less, or 30 programs less, or 40 programs less because of discontinuance. And I don't know if anyone will communicate this to the liaisons. So I'm not sure yet what the process is. I'm going to see if I can talk to Randy a little bit and put our heads together and see what the best way is to inform. But if you're close with the chairs, let them know, hey, what's the deal this semester with discontinued programs and new programs, because there's also a whole bunch of new programs that are going through curriculum. The reason why I mentioned this is these programs, I have to code them into Illumin, and I won't know to code them into Illumin unless someone's letting me know, hey, this is a new program. We need this in Illumin, or this program is gone. It's in Illumin. We need to deactivate it. So those are kind of things that are also coming this month. Talked about faculty participation, KIM training. I talked about the lack of curriculum stuff. And then also, I don't know if you're aware, but there's some, I think it just came out a couple of days ago, but there's this new CalGETSI. And I don't know if anyone heard, but the CalGETSI is like a reduced transfer plan that allows you to transfer to UC or CSUs. And I think one of the things that were already interesting in this CalGETSI plan, I believe English is only 3 units, but right now we have 2 4-unit courses in English. So there might come a lot of changes to some of the courses we teach and courses we require that get transferred. We might have to get rid of a whole bunch of courses because there are no more prerequisites to any programs or transfer. And we might have to introduce new courses that align with CalGETC. So there's a lot of new CSLOs coming with those new courses. So be aware that CalGETC is maybe putting some motion in your department. I give you an example from math. All the pretty much all the developmental math is gone. So lots of their courses will be gone, and you will not, as a liaison, have to take care of those courses anymore. But then there will be new courses that align with CalGETC, and so they need to write CSLOs for those. So as a liaison, you're like a good support system for them. Okay, it's 8:40. The main goal for me was to hammer down two things. Make sure you do your basics so SLOs get revised, OATs get updated, and SLOs get distributed. Start after week 2, because after census, because otherwise the sections are not loaded in there. And in Illumin, and try to get them done rather early this semester than late this semester. Second thing is, program review is due in 2 weeks, which means you might have some panicky faculty that needs your help, and make sure you provide them at least with the reports and a look at the dashboard. If you don't know how to run the reports, we can do this right now real quick, and give them some support, assist in discussions, conversations, and revise and analysis of data if needed, and invite me to meetings if you need my support. Okay, so I'll be happy to help too. And yeah, the last 18 minutes of this meeting, I just wanted to leave this open for you to ask me questions. I already heard you want me to show you real quick how to do PSLO data, but anything you want, we can talk about in the last 18 minutes. I'm going to stop share for a second. Yep.
I have a question. It's for Brianna. Brianna's still here, right? Hey, Brianna, I see you now. Okay, so thank you so much for the notes on what we're getting dinged, kind of consistently told in the accreditation evaluation. And I want to make sure that I'm communicating that to my faculty correctly. So first, kind of the general idea is that we're consistently being told that we need to be referencing SLO data in all program review reports, snapshots, and comprehensive.
Not only SLO data, but also disaggregated SLO data, both. So
yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm using SLO data as a catch-all. Okay, and then you also mentioned, and I just want to make sure I'm taking these notes correctly, some of the different aspects of the data that we're being asked to reference include, I know you said location, modality, or rather location, and then modality is another one, right? Can you expand on that? What else specifically they're highlighting that we really need to identify?
So they really want, for the disaggregations for SLO data, if you have courses offered at more than one in-person location, that should be included. You should be looking at differences in SLO performance, course success, and course completion. The same thing with modality. If you're offering courses in different modalities, like online courses and in-person, you should be looking at differences in performance for SLOs, course success, and course completion. And then for the student disaggregations, you have the primary ones they look for is actually just race, ethnicity. That's the one that they specifically call out in our standards. We haven't really gotten dinged on that one because we do a lot of work looking at race, ethnicity disaggregations. But for whoever is not looking at that, they should be looking at that. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. So
April, April, can I add one more thing? So one thing that I didn't mention on the slide, but that accreditation requires is that you look by different program types too. It didn't say this, but it's kind of implied, because if you have like a department, you might have one program for transfer, but you might have like another program that's maybe more specialized or for something else, like an AA or something. So you're also supposed to look by program type.
Understood. Understood, definitely. Thank you. So success, completion rates, focusing on location, focusing on modality, focusing on race and ethnicity. What about like gender?
We highly encourage it from the research office, but we've never really had feedback from the accreditation about it. But there are 9 equity groups that the chancellor's office recognizes. We don't have all of them in Illumin. We do have them, or 8 out of 9 of them, on most of our dashboards for other data, like course data, program data. So like that's where you can kind of look at that. And that is just sort of, we encourage you to look at some of that, but you may not find equity gaps in all of those groups. And a lot of faculty get overwhelmed when you say like, oh yeah, and you have to look at it in these 9 different ways. And I would say minimum, it's the location, the modality, and the race ethnicity. And then hopefully over time, more of it gets incorporated.
Okay, and I swear one more question.
Yeah.
just one. Is one of our ways of analyzing, capturing like the first generation student?
Yeah, so that is on a few of our dashboards right now. It's not in Illumin. But I know we have a list of things we're trying to get into Illumin, and I think that's one of them. It's on our enrollment and course outcomes dashboard, and I think our degrees and certificates dashboard, but don't quote me on that. It will eventually be on all of our dashboards within the next year, so you'll see it there.
So can I just
Okay,
ask,
awesome. This is really helpful.
Sorry. Can I ask a follow-up, Brianna? Is SES in Illumin now? Do we have the SES data?
So it's in there, but the problem is there's no default. So it's just flagging students that are and not aren't. So I have to like fix that. We haven't come back to it. Yeah.
Because that might be interesting too, because maybe, I don't know if that makes sense to everyone, but it's talking about socioeconomic background, right? So you can kind of link their socioeconomic status to their performance. And there's a lot of literature where people say that's actually one of the most dominant predictors of college success. And then, sorry, April, I interrupted you again. Sorry. Did you have another question or more things on your mind?
No, that kind of wrapped it up. It's helpful to me to know what to communicate to faculty, like, you know, why this is so important, other than the philosophical component of, you know, we want to be developing teaching and learning strategies to close equity gaps and just become the best teachers we can be. But, you know, to specifically say like, hey, and every time we get evaluated, we're getting hit kind of consistently in these certain areas.
Yeah, that's true. Does anyone else have any questions or requests for the last 10 minutes?
You were going to show us how to get the PSLO data.
Mm-hmm. So let's see, can everyone see my screen? The LOAC website, the browser?
Yeah, I can see it.
But I can't. Okay. So first things is, if you go to the LOAC website, they're in the new semester experience for liaisons. If you scroll all the way down, wait, where is it? Okay. If you scroll all the way down, there's this paragraph here, and there's 4 bullet points. And the 4 bullet points, as you can see, is
Okay, I see it.
there's like 4 YouTube videos, and each one shows you how to do location, one for modality for each program. This one is for race, gender, and age. And then this is the overall data. So there's 4 videos you can watch. Then if you don't want to watch the videos, there's also PDFs in there, so you can follow the PDFs. But I'm just going to do one random one.
So the videos are captioned or automatic captioned, and you have no idea what they're actually saying?
I captioned them. So I hope they say what they're supposed to say, but they are not 99%. They're maybe like 97% or so. But I captioned them because I remember I sent them for captioning and they never got back, and then I never followed up, and I'm just like, I just do it. So they are captioned.
Thank you.
And if they don't make sense, I give you permission to yell at me extensively.
Right. No.
Yes.
Not going to happen, but thank you.
So let's just run a report. Shannon, you want to do sign language?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So if I run a report, the first thing I do actually, do you mind if we look at this? Or shall we do chemistry? Because I don't know if you want.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. That's fine.
Okay. So the first thing I do is I go to SLO assessment and curriculum map, and I check that there's a program there for which I can pull PSLO data, and that the program is mapped. And right now it's not mapped. So I'm not going to get any data until I have these check marks. I'm going to do this. I thought we did map it though at some point, which surprised me a little bit.
I thought we did too.
So I don't know why the mapping is gone. So do me a favor, like maybe in like 2-3 days, check if these check marks are still there. Brianna, it shouldn't make a difference if I set them as a data steward or if I set them as a SLO coordinator or department coordinator. They should stay, right? There's nothing that would uncheck them.
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure that Shannon and I set them, so they should have been all set. But if they're not set, you're not going to get any data. So that's the first thing I'm going to check. Okay. Then the second thing I check is I go to strategic planning. And in strategic planning, there's a planner. And in the planner, so for example, if you ask me, you want data for 422 summer 22 and spring 22, then I click these 3 semesters because that's the data you want for. And I click refresh. And since there's only one program, I don't worry. But if you are, for example, in business and you have like 10,000 programs there that you serve, you can also pick a course group. So I'm going to pick the American Sign Language course group, which is for the American Sign Language program. But there's only one, so it doesn't really make any difference. Anyways, I click refresh. And if I pull data in spring 22, there's no data because there's 0 assessments. In summer 22, there's no data because there's 0 assessments. But in fall 22, 20 out of 23 assessments were done. So fall 22 has data. So sometimes you get a request to pull data for a specific semester or year, but there's no data in there. You get all zeros because there were no assessment planned because of the odds. So in any case, let's run a report on fall 22. Okay. Now I go to reports, and I'm talking about a specific PSLO report. And in Illumin, under reports, under available reports, it says SLO performance report. So I click this one. Now you can run it for department, but I click on programs. And now, unfortunately, you have to scroll a little bit. So American Sign Language is here, and I click it. The beautiful thing about programs is if you want to do this for 3 or 4, you can click 3 or 4 and run this all in batch at the same time. If you only have one program, you only click here. So for you, Shannon, if you wanted to do Spanish, you could scroll down to Spanish and click on it. And then it will do for all the departments you want. So right now, it's just for this program. You should always give it some sort of title, but I'm lazy right now and won't do this. It helps you identify this. And you need to select the terms. I'm just going to pick fall 22 because that had lots of data, right? I don't care about spring 22. There was no data in there. You can pick as many as you want, right? But I'll just pick fall 22 for this example. Then SLO dimension should be the program PSLOs. So make sure here, this is where you distinguish between doing ISLOs, PSLOs, and some Illumin allows you to code PSLOs for a department, but we don't use it. So program PSLOs. Now, here's where the magic happens in course dimension. None gives you the general result. Section attributes allows you for 2 things, location and teaching modality. So if you want to look at online, etc., this is the disaggregation I pick. If I want to look at Otay Mesa versus main campus, this is where I look. And if I click on the drop down, you can see non-distance add is face-to-face, remote, correspondence, hybrid. These modalities are all in there. And then you can see national cities, San Isidro, Crown Cove, and so on. These things are all in there to do your disaggregation by location. Is ASL taught at different locations?
Oh, no. Yeah, we teach it in a lot of different locations. Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this disaggregation, and I'm going to unclick these archives, archive ones. We don't use them. And I'm going to leave everything else, online, hybrid, correspondence, and so on, and also the locations. Okay. So I click the section attributes, and then all you need to do, is click generate report. So before I click it, let me go over this real quick. Pick your program from the, pick your program. You can have one or multiple. Change the naming if you want. Pick the terms that have data that you're interested in. Change the SLO dimension to show PSLOs, the program PSLOs. The course dimension allows you to disaggregate. If you want race, gender, it would be this, demographics here and age and stuff. Location and modality is this one, and the overall is just none. And then all you need to do is click generate report. If you do, it creates a PDF. If you want different format, you can change this here, but I'm not changing this. So all I do is click generate report. And then Illumin has not been my friend this semester. I met Jenny last week to run some reports, and they all took like about 4 hours to run during the day. I know Brianna has asked multiple times of Illumin reps that their server is kind of responding slow. I don't know what they're doing to their servers, but if this completes in the next couple of minutes, I can show you the output. But my feeling is I don't think it will. Brianna's shaking her head, so I don't think it will. So let me do one more thing. I go to available reports. I go to SLO performance report. And then I just wanted to show you in the demographics, there's a lot of categories unclick them all. We don't use, or I don't think all of these are coded. If you want to try, give it a try. But the ones you want to pay attention to are gender, MIS ethnicity, which is like African American, Hispanic, and so on, white, and age. Those three work for sure. Then everything else you maybe want to run in a different report, and we can ask maybe Brianna, I don't know, foster use or first year experience or
They're
so.
all, they have data, but it's like a long time ago for like one semester. Like someone got it in once.
So most likely not worth running these reports. So
No.
those are the three you should focus on. And then you just do the same thing, generate your report and so on. And that's it. Now, again, there's 4 videos here. You can play with them. It shows you the same thing. And I'm going to put this recording on this weekend so you can watch this recording too. And you can just email me and say, hey, can we just do the report together? I can just watch you and I can just watch your screen while you do it and make sure you do the right thing if you want. So whatever you feel comfortable with. But yeah, this is how you run the reports.
Great. Thank you so much.
It's 9:01. I have another meeting, but I wanted to make sure if you have any more questions right now to please ask them. I don't mind being late for the other meeting.
I'm good.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you everyone for coming. It gave me an adrenaline kick. I'm so happy to see all of you. And I wanted to make one more comment. There's 2 more comments. There's a vacancy for physical science liaisons. I'm late sending out an email, but I'll send out an email today advertising it. So if you're interested, just apply. And then the second thing is I'm going to have a meeting with Bill at the end of this month and Jada Posey, the Academic Senate President, and also Isabel Saber about hiring a new SLO coordinator for next semester. So if you're interested or you want my perspective or you want to hear from me what I think will help you in your interview process, because I'm not hiring, it's going to be between Saber and Bill and Jetta who they're going to assign. But if you want my 2 cents, you want my support, you want me to talk about things that will help you in the interview, I'd be so happy to help you and work with you on that. So just reach out to me, okay?
Question, Yohim, is that, are you stepping down or are you adding a person to help you?
We'll discuss this in the meeting because
Okay.
theoretically we should hire 2 new people, but it makes more sense to hire 1 SLO coordinator, and then I spend 1 year with that SLO coordinator to train, and then I leave and a new SLO coordinator comes in, so you don't have 2 new SLO coordinator in the same semester, which this is how Rachel and I started, and it was kind of a rocky start like this. So, but I'm not making decisions. I do whatever my administration wants to do. And so I can't answer your question until after they made a decision on this. Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm good.
It was so good seeing everyone. And I'll talk to you later.
Thank
and don't
you
forget,
so much.
please reach out. Okay. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.